Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch shit so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about episode 1 of the new HBO limited series, Scenes from a Marriage, entitled Innocence and Panic. The title, I think, is... I'm not really sure where the innocence portion comes from. There can be any number of interpretations there, maybe more so leaning toward naivete more so than innocence, as in, like, you know, the idea that I feel like everything in this marriage is going fine when it's really not. You could have some innocence there. We see that, I think, a little bit from Oscar Isaac's character, Jonathan. He seems a little oblivious to Jessica Chastain's character named Mira. He seems a little oblivious to the fact that she's not fully invested here. It seems like she's kind of checked out to a degree. And then the panic, I think, applies to it's panic. I think is an interesting dynamic within this episode because, in a very literal sense, Jonathan has panic attacks as he has asthma. So there's panic there in a very literal sense. But conversely, there's panic on Mira's side from how she wants to handle some of the things that take place in this episode. So I'm going to start talking about the episode. I'm going to talk about some of the things I liked, some of the things I didn't like, and give some thoughts. I may or may not have thoughts. I don't know. I don't know. But this episode starts out in an interesting way. It starts with Jessica Chastain, the actress, arriving on set, and she goes and she's walking past people with masks on, like, you know, production assistants, whatever, people handing her stuff, telling her where she needs to go, telling her what the schedule's going to be like. She goes, sits down in the bathroom, someone comes in, goes action, and then the episode actually, like, starts from there, and you never break that disbelief at any other moment in the episode, which I thought was kind of interesting. I wonder why they chose to do that. And I also wonder if that's something that's going to happen every episode. It's supposed to be a 5-episode series. I wonder if they're all going to start like that. But I'm wondering why they would make that choice. But it was very noticeable. But at the end of the day, it kind of, I don't want to say it helped me, but, like, it helps me keep in the back of my mind the fact that these are actors and that, this isn't real. And when I say that this isn't real, I have to keep that in mind in a very literal sense because, you know, when you've been married for a while and you start fraternizing with other married couples and you see marriages around you start to dissolve, all of that feels very scary. Like, could this happen to me? Could this happen to us? You know, and to watch something like this, it's going to be a difficult watch. To watch something like this, which I think is going to be watching the inevitable ending of their marriage. I think it's probably going to get pretty nasty. It's probably going to go pretty bad. It's probably going to be pretty tough to watch. And I think having it start off like that was a reminder, like, okay, she's acting right now. Like, I don't know. It's weird to really put into words, but I don't know. I found it a little comforting to think about that in the end. But yeah, let's talk about some of the other stuff that was going on here. So that's how it starts. We open up with Jonathan, which is Oscar Isaac's character, and Mira, which is Jessica Chastain's character, and they're being interviewed by a thesis student at Jonathan's college that he works at. And, well, I don't know if he's working in a college. I think he just says he's an educator. He might not be at a college. I'm pretty sure he was, though. Yeah, because why would he have a thesis student if he was at a high school? So they're being interviewed by this woman who's interested in longer than average marriages. They've been married for 10 years. They've been together for 12. And where the woman is the primary breadwinner. And she asked them questions throughout this that always seem to trigger some sort of awkwardness. She asks them how they met. I feel like there's a story there that we'll probably get into later. But, you know, there's a talk of they were both in a relationship when they first, I don't want to say started seeing each other, but when they first, I guess, became aware of one another. They were both in their own separate relationships. There's a history of abuse on Mira's side. So, and they seemed very hesitant to talk about how they met. So I'm curious to see if we're going to learn a little bit more about that. The interviewer also asked them why they think their marriage has been successful. And that creates some awkwardness as well. Like, Jonathan asked her to define success. They have both very different ideas of what success is. I think Mira gave something that I thought was a very interesting answer that I kind of liked. And she said it was something about like keeping up. There's a delicate equilibrium that they both have to maintain. And I think that's a very interesting way of putting it, because it feels like, as especially if your marriage is starting to crumble, everything can set you off, right? Because you're probably like sick of this person, and you're just like, anything that can happen. So that's the delicate equilibrium, right? You have something happens, you got to counteract that and keep that equilibrium, or everything's just gonna topple over. And I thought that was an interesting way of describing a way to have a successful marriage. That sounds like a way to delay a divorce more so than a successful marriage. But I do like that concept of maintaining a delicate equilibrium. I think when that equilibrium is probably not so delicate, that's probably when you're in a good marriage. But I am by no means a therapist, nor am I here to talk about marriage. I'm here to talk about the show. So throughout these questions and conversations, Mira seems very distracted, and I think Jessica Chastain does a great job of showing someone who is displeased, but feels like she can't show her displeasure. Like, you'll see moments where she looks kind of like almost taken aback, or a little upset, or a little bothered, and it's a fleeting moment, and then immediately she's just like back to wife mode, like she's a performer who's there to play the role of wife, which would tie into how the episode starts, and that's really just her way of maintaining that equilibrium, right? Like if I show displeasure right now in this interview in front of company, maybe that equilibrium now is off balance, and now we have an issue, and everything goes left. So she does a great job with that during this entire interview. She's very distracted. She keeps looking at her phone. We find out why a little bit later, and I'll get to that in a moment. And then the interviewer also asks how they feel about monogamy. And there's an interesting moment where the camera pans and it transitions into a dinner party with Jonathan, Mira, and another couple. And the way that transitioned, because we're in the middle of the interview, she says, "How do you feel about monogamy?" Give or take, I'm paraphrasing. "How do you feel about monogamy?" And the camera pans. So I'm thinking, and it kind of like dissolves from the interview into this dinner party. And it made me think that this was a flashback, but it turns out it wasn't. So I'll get to that in a moment. So they're having this dinner party, and apparently this other couple is in an open marriage, and the wife of the couple was just dumped by her her side dude. I don't know. And apparently she really had feelings for this guy, and she's been devastated about it, and she's pissed that her husband is pissy about it. And everything kind of really breaks down at this dinner party, and it goes really left. And we then later find out, well, not find out, but we then later have a moment where the wife of this couple kisses Jessica Chastain while they're upstairs, just kind of like talk everything out and calm down. And there's a whole moment where they talk about passion. And I feel like that's going to be kind of like the center for this series is going to be passion. Like that, how do you maintain that? That's the question for every marriage, right? How do you maintain that passion? How do you stop it from becoming just a routine, day by day, by the book, by the numbers kind of deal, where you wake up, you make your cereal, you take your kids to school, you work, you come home, you do like the routine, right? How do you keep that passion? And that open marriage for that other couple seemed to spark that passion for them. And it seems like she's trying to kind of like, she being the wife of the other couple, trying to kind of move Mira into that direction. And I couldn't really get a take on how Mira felt about it. In the moment, she was very like, no, like she was clearly put off by it. But I don't know if that's something that's going to come back later, because she actually, is starting to become interested in something like that. But that was a very interesting moment as well. So the flashback scene, the reason I say it's not a flashback is because after the couple leaves, they go upstairs, they start getting ready for bed. The husband of the couple was loud. He woke up their kid. So they go upstairs, they're getting ready for bed, and she reveals that she's pregnant. And she says that she found out right before the interview. So I'm like, wait, the interview's in the past? So we left. So that was my one, I guess, negative about this episode, was that I didn't like that it felt like we flashed back, but we actually flashed forward. And that makes the interview feel like the interview was cut short. Because I'm like, I figured like they were gonna flash to this dinner party scene. We're gonna get some sort of information about how they feel about monogamy, and then we're gonna go back to the interview and finish the interview. But we never go back to the interview. We just move forward. So I thought that was a little weird to find out that way. Like, wait a minute, this is a flash forward and not a flashback. But whatever. It's a very minor quibble. So, next scene, we move to the abortion clinic, and this is the final scene of the episode. And the interesting part about this is that prior to that, it seemed like they agreed to have the baby. And there's an interesting moment that I can really relate to. You know, she talks about whether or not she wants to go through the 2 years of hell with having a newborn again. And by no means do I want to call having children hell, but she says, like, you know, I was just starting to get my life back. And I can relate to that. You know, I have 2 kids. Well, I have 3 kids, but I have 2 that are separated by 2 years in age, 2 years and some change. And it was kind of like a full 4 years of having an infant / toddler around. And that can put a very, very hard strain on a marriage. So, like, I can understand why they felt like, you know, why she felt like, you know, I just got through this 2 years. You know, our kid is older now. She looked like she's probably about 6. You know, our kid's older now, so now we can, you know, kind of resume having a life as a married couple and not just being parents all the time, dealing with parent shit. So I can relate to that. But then they cut to the next scene, and it appears that they've arrived at the decision of having an abortion, which is interesting because also in that conversation, it looks like they both know what they want to do, but they also know it's the opposite of what the other person wants to do. So they're trying to get the other person to say something first. Like, it seems like Jonathan wants to have the baby, which he eventually admits to. And I'm guessing it's probably for religious reasons. He talks about being Jewish a lot. I feel like he's somebody who would be opposed to having an abortion unless it was something that was, completely necessary. And I feel like she was very, very hesitant to do it. She seemed like she was leaning toward abortion, but didn't want to say it because she didn't want to upset him. And that's what I was talking about with the equilibrium, which is why I thought that was such a good phrase, because like she's thinking like, this isn't the hill I want to die on, which is crazy when we're talking about having a baby. Like that's the hill right there. If you don't want to have a baby, just going along with it is probably not the best idea. But that's where it seemed like we were going. But then we cut to the abortion clinic, and at the abortion clinic we have I think we have 2 great moments from both of these actors. The doctor walks Mira through what this is going to look like. This is what you got to do. This is what's going to happen. And you could tell that Jonathan's very shaken up by this. And he even says in a moment, like, I don't know why I'm acting like this. I felt like, I'd be okay, but I'm struggling here. But there's a moment where he goes to get her a Pepsi. He goes to get her Coke, but he comes back with a Pepsi. This wasn't a mistake. He mentions that. It was like, I noticed it. Like, oh, he said Coke, but that's a Pepsi. He said like, they didn't have Coke, so I got you Pepsi. He gets her a Pepsi, and she uses that to wash down whatever pill the doctor gave her. And the look on his face when she's drinking that Pepsi to wash the pill down, it was heartbreaking. He doesn't do a lot, but he lingers on it. Like he's looking at her like, and like this is it. Like this is really happening. This just happened, and I am having a whole lot of trouble dealing with this. And then she asked him to leave because she starts having trouble as well. And she asked him to leave just to be alone, which I can understand that too. And she curls up under the like the sheet that's on the hospital bed, and she's crying in a way that's like, you can see her body shaking. Really great scene. And I'm wondering how I feel like these sorts of things can have a huge impact on a marriage as well. So we're talking about a couple that both of them are trying to do what they can to stop what they probably feel is the inevitable conclusion of their marriage. They're I'm willing to let this go, to not start some shit and not have an issue. And it seems like they're both doing that. And now they're doing this with, having a baby. And I feel like, this can't bode well for their marriage when you have a wife who wants to have an abortion or doesn't want to have a kid at this time, but chooses to have an abortion and doesn't feel that good about it. And then you have the father who, doesn't want to have the abortion, but seemingly goes along with it. I'm assuming because they don't talk about how they arrived from. I mean, it was literally like this was shot back to back. Like scene one, okay, we're gonna do this. Scene two, we're at the abortion clinic. Like there's no how did we get here moment. But I'm presuming that they had a conversation where she laid out a little bit more of her concerns. He decided like I'm just gonna go along with this to not make waves. And if that's the reason why you go against your own beliefs and allow an abortion to happen that you don't really support, I feel like that's gonna make a situation where they're gonna be at each other's throats over this. So I guess all that to say, I found this show to be incredibly interesting. It's tough to watch. You don't want to. Anyone can relate to the idea of how difficult a marriage can be at times. So to see people go through things like that, it's really tough to watch. But these two do such an incredible job with very, very subtle things. Like if you're just watching this kind of just like, yeah, whatever, there's probably going to be a lot you miss. But like, if you watch this, keep an eye on everyone's facial expressions. They do so much with their face, especially Jessica Chastain. Like in this interview, several times you look at her and you're like, she does not want any parts of this. And then she like flips to like, oh, gotta maintain that equilibrium. So let me play the happy wife role. And yeah, it was very interesting. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to mention here. There is one thing I want to mention. This show, I think, is going to be a better version of what the movie Malcolm and Marie tried to be. So Malcolm and Marie was a Netflix movie that came out during the pandemic. I have a review of it on this channel. I say during the pandemic, like the shit over. It's not. But I have a video on this channel reviewing Malcolm and Marie. And it was a Netflix original movie with John David Washington and Zendaya. I can never remember which way to pronounce that correctly. But the problem with that film was that they were just trashing each other the whole time, and you don't get you don't see how we got there. You just see two people berating each other and saying the worst things that they can, and they are just from start to end. It's just two people shitting on each other and being completely terrible and saying horrific things to one another. And it's like, why would I want to watch this like hate fuck of a movie? Like, what is this? I feel like this is going to be what Malcolm and Marie want it to be. This is going to be, we're going to see the degradation of a marriage that, where we've seen some of the good times, or we can at least see them in a place where they are trying to maintain that equilibrium. I'm going to keep talking about that equilibrium, where they're trying to maintain that equilibrium, and then it kind of just dissolves and turns into something way worse. Whereas like Malcolm and Marie, we just got the end, and that just seemed like hate watching kind of shit. So like I feel like this is gonna be a better version of that. But yeah, so far so good. I really enjoyed the first episode as much as you can enjoy something that's that difficult to watch, but I can enjoy it from a respect point of view. Like I respect what they're doing here. So I'll be covering all 5 episodes. I'll see you guys every Monday because it airs on Sunday nights. I'll see you guys every Monday for this one, and every Tuesday for Leticia, which airs tonight, Monday as well. That's 6 episodes, so they should end at the same time. Actually, I think no. This will end earlier. Leticia will end early. I'm sorry. So next week, episode 2 of Scenes from a Marriage, and tomorrow, episode 3 of Leticia. Till then, peace.